essentially my life was sort of over as I knew it. My name is Adam Garrett, mechanical engineer. About roughly let's say 15 years, 10 to 15 years. We were at a birthday party on Wilshire. It was a friend of ours. She was driving. I was the passenger behind the driver. A lady was turning in front of us, fell asleep at her wheel and cut us off, and we got in a 40-mile-an-hour head-on collision. I woke up on the side of the road. I fractured my scapula, which they said was kind of an unfracturable bone, but I had two severely bulged discs in my neck, C1, C2, and then I had two pretty bad bulges in my lower back. I think it was L3 and L4. I would say probably 2 years after the accident, I noticed when I would be on plane flights, I would start to sort of spasm this way, and then I would also spasm this way. I didn't even relate it to the accident until almost a decade later. The two discs that were in my neck, they started to spasm out and cause massive nerve damage. And I started to lose feeling in my fingers. They completely went dead. And then that started to spread over my hand. And again, I didn't really realize this was all caused by the accident. We thought it was we didn't know. Doctors didn't know. Everyone was pretty clueless. I also started to develop a limp in my right leg. And then this kind of created like an S in my body almost, because I had this left shoulder screwed up and my right side messed up. So I eventually needed a 1/2-inch heel lift put in between the bottom of my shoe and my foot to raise my foot up. And as that progressed into my mid-30s, I needed another 1/2-inch heel lift. And then it was clear something was extremely wrong. So I started seeing a chiropractor. I started doing adjustments with him on a daily basis, so Monday through Saturday. Then I started seeing him twice a day, 6 days a week, which was extremely time consuming. And we're like, listen, this is gonna have to probably be a surgical issue, which is terrifying. So when I had my first consultation around 35, they told me they're gonna cut my throat out, they have to move it to the side. They would pull out the first disc, put in the fake metal disc, do that one first. Then they said they would have to do the second one probably 5 years later, significant amount of time later. So once that kind of got discovered, we realized that the lower back was probably involved in that too. And they realized they'd actually have to cut through the stomach and go through that way as well. And essentially my life was sort of over as I knew it. As I got to 38, I went whitewater rafting. I was rowing, had my arm up, and the person aside from me got launched into my shoulder with his whole body. And his head hit me here and dislocated my shoulder to where it was like a unicorn. That tore my deltoid, my trap muscle, tore my tricep, tore my connector muscles there, and also went all the way down to tearing part of my forearm. Luckily, they had a Black Hawk helicopter doing fire search and rescue, so they had to rappel down. They rappelled me up. So now with that coming into the mix, my whole body was just a mess. In October, I was walking around my house. I took a step and my right leg stopped working. I fell flat on my face, and I thought that was the end. My wife and I were starting to essentially shop for wheelchairs. We were looking at putting those ramps that take you up and down stairs, like a chair where you sit in a motorized chair and it guides you up and down the stairs. And it was an emotional wreck. It's an intense subject, but I started to have more and more falls. And as that happened, my neck actually started to decline around the same point. My arm turned purple and they were gonna take me in for an emergency surgery. And it turns out it was all related purely to the discs making slight contact with the nerve. And as the discs slowly collapse, it pinches the nerves and it just shuts you down. It doesn't matter how physically strong you are. It doesn't matter like how active you are or what you're doing. It's just sort of like a light switch that just goes off. So once it changed color, they put me in for an emergency surgery. I went to go see my chiropractor and he asked me if I'd ever tried spinal decompression or anything like that. That was a Saturday morning. I was saying goodbye. I had an emergency surgery scheduled for Monday and I was just so desperate to just not have my throat torn out and have discs replaced. And I called Spinatomy immediately. I spoke with Maria when she answered the phone. I told her my situation and she's like, this is exactly what we do. Man, it's like gives me like tears. It gets me emotional just thinking about it because I knew it was a game over for me, like in my mind, and everything that day worked out flawlessly. I was going into surgery Monday, the first of the 4. Having Maria answer, having Dr. Rosenberg be there and just invite me in like immediately. It was amazing from the start. About month 1, I had my hand on the windshield. Sorry, it's hard to do it without getting emotional, but I was passing White Oak on the 101. I had my hand on the windshield and I'm like, oh man, I got stung by a bee. and I am freaked out. I pull off the 101 and I'm looking for the bee sting. And it was the first time I'd realized that the feeling had started to return to my left arm. And I broke down. I started crying on that. And I'm not a crier in general, and I just lost it. I couldn't believe that I could actually feel. I touched my skin and I could feel temperature. It was just life-changing. I mean, it was unreal. I came home, told my wife. She starts crying because she was just so happy that something was actually progressing in a positive way that wasn't a surgery that's going to ruin me for life. And that was probably one of the most memorable, powerful moments of being able to feel my hand and my arm again after that. And it just progressively got better. After the next couple weeks, I started to be able to feel my fingertips again, started to be able to flex and have muscle control. I can't tell you how thankful I am to Dr. Rosenberg and to Maria and Angie and everyone that I work with all the time. It's emotional because it's just, my life was forever changed in a positive way on an injury I was dealing with for 10 plus years. I've had to retrain my body. I'm working with Dr. Alex now. I spent months just relearning how to walk, and right now I'm relearning how to use my left shoulder. So just like my positioning probably right now is not that great. I'm working on starting to retrain those old muscles that have overcorrected forward because of the spinal injury. But my life's changed now to this point where I can do this stuff. I just got back from staying in Mammoth, where I did 25 days of snowboarding, which was something I didn't think I was even going to be able to do again. I'm back at the gym, being able to work out, being able to plan trips again, being able to travel, being able to lift things at my office, being able to help my wife with stuff, being able to live my life again. It's been like a gift. It's been like my second lease on life to be able to go through this process that I've been doing here, and to go from wheelchair shopping to snowboarding again. It's just changed my life. It really has.